I've always been a massive fan of low fantasy type games or movies or shows. Anything that seems to be or is just blatantly over the top fantasy, it usually turns me off. That's why I'm not a big fan of like animes. I'm not a big fan of like MMOs. I mean, I like the concept of an MMO, a bunch of people getting together in one world doing missions together because I love co-op. I'm a big PvE guy. But as far as like even though I like the bones, the meat of an MMO, I'm not a big fan of MMOs typically being high fantasy, right? Like when you think of MMO, you think of like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, Elder Scrolls Online, Bless Unleashed. Well, maybe not Bless Unleashed. I don't know why I threw that in there. I think only like 6 people know about that game, which is actually not that bad of an MMO. But that's not what I meant to say. I meant to say Black Desert. So they're all, what do they all have in common? They're all highly fantasy, over the top, colorful, you know, green haired anime girls that shoot purple magic, and then the other one shoots red magic, and everything is neon and bright and colorful and pretty. And because it's, it's very, it's, I can't say that nowadays that type of aesthetic is being borrowed by even more serious gaming titles like Call of Duty, like and I think Fortnite has a lot to do with that. Fortnite kind of popularized. It didn't invent, but it popularized like neon colors and everything. It's dancing and little emotes that are like popular because of the younger crowd. And since a lot of executives and developers see that Fortnite's making a ton of cash, they're like, we need to borrow some of those aesthetics and put them in our video games. Fuck the fact that our video game happens to be a military heavy video game where there's executions and murder and politics. Like fuck that. Let's just throw in a neon green gun. You know what I mean? Like, let's just ignore all that. Let's have, because that's what you want in a real life combat situation, right? Like when you're trying to camouflage, you want a neon green gun that shoots like golden bullets, and you want to snipe like an Al Qaeda terrorist in the head, and then do the dab thing in real life. Like it gets out of hand. Sounds like I'm shitting on high fantasy, right? Of course, you would probably think that. I am not, because even though I enjoy games like ESO, not so much today. I downloaded it recently and tried to get into it after putting in shit, man, hundreds of hours in the console version for PS4. I only put just a few hours in on the PC version. I guess because I've had my fill of that's the way I am. The way my brain categorizes things is like once I play a video game, it's very rare that I come back to play that same video game, even if I loved that video game. Now I've done that before, don't get me wrong. I went back and played a game that I finished. But for the most part, most games that I play, the vast majority of games that I play, I never go back to visit once I finish finishing them because my brain categorizes it as done, check, move on. There's just way too many games right now for me to be going back to the same one unless that game has huge replayable elements, right? Like if it's an MMO or if it's, updates galore that keep you coming back. But I don't know, I guess since I'm older, I still have that single player mentality where it's like, yo, I beat this game. That's awesome. Let's move on. So, give me 1 second. God, I hope you didn't hear that. It's clearing my throat. So, what the fuck does this have to do with Dark and Darker, right? The fact that it's low fantasy, right? I love. There's something cool about taking a concept that's not real, that's obviously fantasy, and giving it realistic properties and treating it like if this piece of fantasy existed in our real life world today, how would we go about using it? Like, for example, if there was such a thing as warlocks or druids or wizards or sorcerers, like, do you think that they can, in real life, like, if your friend was a real life wizard that can fucking conjure up fire and wind and water and fucking earthquakes, Do you think he'll just like a video game? Do you think he'll just go bah, make like some sort of a weird sound, lift his hands up, and his body just turns like neon colors, and then out comes a giant fucking boulder from the bottom of the floor, and like, or would it be like, hey, that's a spell, right? Like that's a spell. I need to do something to activate that spell. What is that something? Usually it's reading some sort of an incantation from a book or something like that, like a spell book or a grimoire. Did I say that right? Grimoire. That's usually what it takes, at least according to like, lore. I don't know who was the first person or thing that popularized reading spells from a book. Like, why do spells have to come from a book? It's kind of like I think I forgot which comic it was, but this comic said like what makes Superman fly faster? Like if you're already flying at a certain speed, like what makes him fly faster? I think that was Hannibal Buress that said that was I may be wrong. But he's like, if you're in the air and you're flying as Superman, is that what makes you go faster? Do you like kind of just like tense up and that's what makes you go fast? Like if you're riding a motorcycle, right, you would have to hit the throttle, right? I believe that's what it's called. Sorry for you motorcycle dudes, I know you guys are like, shut the fuck up, Danny. But like, you would have to rev the engine kind of, you have to do something physical for it to move quicker. If you're Superman and you're flying, what is that physical thing that you have to do to go faster? Do you imaginary throttle? Is that what makes you go fast? That kind of would make sense, right? If Superman kind of did the fist thing, which is, if you think about it, though, there's lots of poses when he's flying and his fists are out as he's flying, right? Could he be doing the little motorcycle acceleration thing, and that's what makes him go faster? Anyways, what I'm saying is, let's apply that concept to a warlock or a wizard or somebody who can cast spells of some sort. What makes him cast spells? Does he just tense up and then the magic starts flowing through him, and then eventually he? I feel like if spells would if you were able to conjure up spells in real life, in our life today, as our life as we know it, right? I feel like that's a process that'll take time. I don't feel like you can just point your finger and out shoots out a laser bolt, a lightning bolt rather. I feel like that's you'd be like, yo, in order for me to shoot this fucking lightning out of my body, bro, you got to give me some time. I can't do it. And I'm sure it's taxing, right? It has to be physically taxing to use some sort of a aura or mantra or whatever you use to conjure up this spell, and it has to come out of your body, right? Like I'm sure you just can't do that all willy-nilly like if you're taking a breath. That's a lot of effort and a lot of energy, right? So and you being a human being of some sort, right? I don't know if you can classify a wizard as a human being, right? Like maybe the race is human, but he's not human in the sense of physicality, his attributes, whatever. What I'm saying is I'm sure casting a spell has to be physically taxing and also emotionally taxing. So when I play video games that are fantasy that capture that it takes a while for you to do a spell, I love that, right? Other people may not because they're like, oh, it takes forever. I'm getting fucking whacked in the face by a skeleton because I'm over here running around with this book in my hand trying to cast a spell. And every time I get in the middle of it, I get hit in the face with a fucking club, right? Yeah, I get it. On that from that perspective, I get why you would hate it, but I like the fact that like you're about to do some powerful shit. It should take some time, right? I think that's just good video game mechanics because otherwise you could just spam it and destroy the entire room, especially if you're playing like a PvP game of some sort. Excuse me. Ah, man, I don't know what's going on. I think I'm getting nah, not sick. I don't know. I've just been kind of phlegmy. Sorry, I know that's gross. So wow, that's almost 10 minutes of me not barely talking about the game. Sorry about that, man. Uh, yeah, I do that a lot. Sorry. Well, not really sorry, because I'm going to continue doing that. That's the whole point of this podcast. I talk more about things than the video games itself. I don't know if you noticed that by now. And if you did, thanks, because I'm pretty sure some people are just like, get to the fucking point. I can't listen to this guy because he never gets to the point. Sorry. Not really. But when you play a game like Dark and Darker, it's super enjoyable to see that, right? Like combat is slow and deliberate, whether you're a fighter and you do no magic whatsoever. That's what I'm playing as now because that's what I've been recommended by the lovely folks on the internet. They were like, try out a fighter just to wet your feet, get your feet wet. Um, and then, eventually you can move on to different classes, start fucking with magic and all sorts of other things. And I was okay, that makes sense, right? I can handle a sword and a shield, and for the most part, I'm getting better. I'm getting my ass handed to me mostly all the time by players and fucking monsters alike. So I love the artwork. I love, and I mean the artwork as in the loading screens that you can tell they're hand drawn or hand painted or whatever, handcrafted. They're beautiful. I love them. I want to actually make one of them, but not beautiful in the traditional sense, like a rose. I mean, like there's actually one of the screen savers or one of the loading screens is actually a dude stealing the shoes off of a person I'm assuming he killed with an arrow to the face. There's nothing beautiful about that in the traditional sense, but it's cool that the art it looks very well drawn. It gives me this, I don't know. I'm a big fan of medieval artwork, which is not that beautiful. If you go back and you look at, you know, actual paintings and drawings from the medieval times, they're not great looking, but they have this certain aesthetic that I love. I can't explain it. The scrolls, there's always a scroll for some reason just on the top there, and it has all this fucking Latin writing or some sort of writing that I can't understand, but it looks cool. And everyone's always facing to the left. Like no one's looking directly to you. Like no one's making eye contact. Everyone's somehow 2D, like Paper Mario, and they're all looking at one side. I love it. And not only the artwork, not only the loading screens, but the actual dungeons themselves. Oh my god, bro, they captured the essence perfectly. It's been such a long time. I praise the level design, the artwork of Dark and Darker so much. It's so good. One of the best in video games today. No bullshit. Like it's beautiful. It's dimly lit. There's fucking old school traps that spikes come out of, like in the games that we played back in the day. It's lovely, man. Difficulty is hard as shit. Just a few swipes can kill you. Think Dark Souls, right? And not to mention the players, right? All in all, I can see that this game's main thing, the main thing that entices you to play a game like Dark and Darker would be the PvP combat. And for me, once again, like I'm always a PvE guy. I like the fact that Dark and Darker is a PvP game, but I do wish there was a PvE mode. I know. I know. Listen, every game that you can think of that has PvP, you always have people like me, right? Those whiny guys that go in the comment and it's like, this game's too hard. That's not me. I actually enjoy the challenge, but this game should have a PvE mode because there's lots of cheaters, and also I want to be able to practice, and we should have progression too, and the PvE mode. And you know what? Excuse me. I agree with some of that, right? I do agree that, like, if PvE is already implemented in your PvPvE, fuck. What I'm trying to say is stuff like, if you already have PvE implemented into your game that also has PvP, why can't you just have a mode where you remove the PvP and just leave the PvP? It's already programmed. It's already there. In fact, when it comes to Dark and Darker, personally, I'm dying way more to like skeletons and goblins than I am to players. Don't get me wrong, I got ganked a few times. Me and my friend, like last night, we just kept getting whacked by these fucking players that killed us. They weren't the same players, but like it just seems like people wait, they'll wait by the portals when you're about to escape, and then they ambush you, which is, it's it sucks because it's like this is a game where in order for you to win, in order for you to actually make any sort of progress, you have to bring loot back, and once they kill you, you lose everything. So it's a it's not a perfect game, but it's not just Dark and Darker. They're not exclusive to this. It's, any other game that's an extraction shooter or that has PvE PvP or PvPvE elements. DayZ, right? Like, oh, you can work together. I remember it says that in the description of DayZ, and I'm like, not really. Everybody knows that DayZ is mostly kill on site. Everybody knows that you know any game where there's PvP, players are gonna kill each other, right? Now, on the topic of PvP games, right? You would never catch me whining about why there isn't no PvE mode in games that are already exclusively PvP. Games like Counter Strike, games like Call of Duty, games like Apex Legends, right? I don't know. I have never played Apex Legends, but I'm assuming it's a mainly PvP game. Uh, what else we got? PUBG, right? What's another one? I don't know. Can't think of one right now. But all of the main PvP games, you would never catch me going to like any of the forums or like the Steam comments or Steam page or whatever and writing like, how come there isn't a PvE mode in Counter Strike or Call of Duty or PUBG? I would never do that because those games aren't they're meant to be competitive, right? That's why you would never catch me complaining about that. But games that already have a PvE element baked in already, Escape from Tarkov, although you can kind of excuse them because they do have a PvE offline mode, or maybe it's not offline anymore, God knows. But they do have a PvE mode where you can play and progress without any players, right? But it's $250, which is like, that's not even a sensible price, right? I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if he's the developers. I think it's Battlestate Games. I've said this before. Like, I don't know if that's a big fuck you to like, oh, you want this PvE mode you guys been bitching about for so long? Here it is, $250. Cough it up. I kind of feel like that's the case, but who knows? I don't know too much about this drama. Gray Zone Warfare, right? They're like, okay, this is mainly a PvP game, but we're gonna give you a PvE mode, right? Dead Side, this is mainly a PvP game, but we're gonna give you a PvE mode, right? Scum, even, right? Which is, I don't want to reduce them to just being a DayZ clone, but heavy DayZ inspirations are going on in Scum, right? So even them, they're working on Bandit AI. That'll just be at least to my understanding, they'll be roaming the maps and you can kill them and loot them. That's fucking awesome. I wish Ar not Arma, sorry. I wish DayZ had built in actual developer developed bandit AI that you can, or bandit survivors that, will have melee and you have to fight them with melee or you have to fight them with guns or shoot them or whatever the case may be, run them over. That'd be cool. All I'm saying is that, like, for games that already have PvE built in, right? There should at least be a PvE mode, right? Some offer it in the they offer it in a way of like practice, or like there's no progression if it's like a progression based game where you get experience or you have to bring back loot. It's like, yeah, you can play offline or you can play with your friends, but you get kind of penalized, right? Like Battlefield, or I've never played any Battlefield games except for like Project Reality, which was based off of, so technically I did, but not really. But point is, these games, these PvP games like Battlefield, they do offer a PvE mode with bots and stuff like that, but I heard that they don't give you full progression. They only give you like some, like that, or half of what you would normally get if you were to PvP. What I'm trying to say is that, look, all my PvP guys, I get it. Us PvE guys, we could be whiny little bitches. I admit that. And I've seen plenty of those in a comment where they're like, oh, this game's too hard. See, now that is where I draw the line, right? Just like there's a lot of controversy recently about Elden Ring being too difficult, or at least the Elden Ring Erdtree DLC being difficult, right? So now I'm a little worried because of these new generation of gamers, or these new people who aren't used to playing difficult games like um, Dark Souls or Sekiro or Neo or Salt and Sanctuary or Blasphemy or Hollow Knight or Elden Ring, or they're not used to playing these Dark Souls like games. Lies of P. I actually got that game with my PC as a free download. I haven't even played it yet, but Whatever. Point is, there's a lot of people out there who feel like the difficulty should be nerfed, and it's like, no, bro, that literally defeats the entire purpose of playing a Dark Souls game. Like, people play for the difficulty, or at least, well, don't get me wrong, that's not the only reason they play. A lot of them play for the lore, a lot of them play for the adventure, a lot of them play for the fun, a lot of them play for the bosses, but lots of different reasons. But like everyone who plays, regardless of what reason you play a Dark Souls type game or a Dark Souls game, regardless of what your reason is to play that game, you know that it's going to be a difficult game. You expect this, and that's the beauty of it. You can't nerf that. You can't. If you do that, you pretty much you defeated the purpose of. For that, they can go play Assassin's Creed or something. No knock to Assassin's Creed. I'm just saying you can play something that's kind of balanced and fun and relatively easy. You can breeze through if you put in some hours. You need something hard, something to challenge you, and that's what Dark Souls is offering. So I understand when I play Dark and Darker that there's a lot of guys who, a lot of people, a lot of PVE guys call them PvP gatekeepers, right? Which I can see why they would call them that, right? Because there's lots of, there's always that one PvP guy, and no matter what game it is, that's always like, let me explain to you, bro, using bro science. Let me explain to you, bro, why this game will not succeed as only a PvE game. Because there requires a lot of balance, and also the thrill of a player ambush is totally gone, which defeats the purpose of playing a game where risk and reward is a thing. And it's like, bro, listen to what I'm telling you. Now, listen to me. All right. First of all, right? Specifically with Dark Souls, fuck, even with Hunt Showdown, right? I was getting my ass handed to me by PvE elements, whether it's like a zombie or some sort of a wolf in the Hunt Showdown, or here, goblins, fucking, uh, what, frost berserkers or whatever the fuck they were when I was at this frost world in Dark and Darker. Me and my friend are 90% of the time we're dying to PvE elements. Do we suck? Absolutely. But we also just started the game, right? Can you say get good? Yeah, sure. I won't even get mad if you tell me that. Danny, get good. You're right. I will. That's why I'm going to continue playing the game, and I plan to play tonight with my friend because I really enjoy this game. Even though I'm getting fucked over by PvP kids, the deathmatch boys, even though I'm getting fucked over by them, I'm still enjoying Dark, Dark and Darker. I don't want to change anything. That's one thing that a lot of these quote unquote PvP gatekeepers don't understand. I don't want you to change anything. In fact, all I want you to do is add, right? Add a mode that has PvE only, right? And it has nothing to do with the high rollers section, with the dungeons. It doesn't fuck with the balance. Just our own little PvE mode. I really feel like that would take off really well. And I just feel like it's a net positive overall for the developers because you get a whole new demographic of people wanting to play your game. And your game is beautiful, man. I love the combat, even though some people may feel it's kind of too slow, a little too deliberate. I love slow and deliberate combat. I like that you can't just spam swinging and expect results. Like, you have to block, you have to move, you have to actually aim your shield when you block, depending if they're doing an overhand strike or a lower strike or whatever the case may be. I love that. And I love the difficulty. I love the artwork. I love the fact that, like, you have your whole belt is covered with potions, right? Like, because that's what would happen in real life if we had magic potions that somehow we can drink and replenish magic for some reason, or replenish our health, right? Where would we keep those? In our assholes? No, you would have to see them physically on our clothing. So I love that when I see players running around with all these vials, these little baubles and trinkets and vials on their belts. Ah, just the attention to detail. Fucking love it. And the combat is awesome. Like I said, some people may not like. I love it. There's so much about. I gush about this game because it's like I just wish more people took this concept and added it to different types of genres, right? Like, this is an extraction. It's not a shooter, but it is an extraction game. You drop inside of a map. You have to collect loot, and you have to fight both AI players as well as actual players and escape with this loot, right? This is an extraction game in its purest form, right? But I would love to see this concept of realism, but also fantasy, like realism mixed with fantasy, into other genres, maybe a single player game, right? Because every single player game, and I was telling my friend this the other day, right? I was like, nowadays, sorry, not nowadays. This has been video gaming for a long, long time now. It's like your character is always special, you're always special, right? You're always the first descendant. Like, no knock to this new Destiny knockoff type game. I'm sorry, I don't mean to shit on it like that, but looking at it, I'm just like, it looks a lot like Destiny. Maybe it doesn't play like Destiny. Maybe it's actually a pretty cool game. I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna fucking try it today. I heard it's free to play, so I'll probably download it and see what the hubbub is all about. But point is, you're always special in these games. Oh, you're special. You're the last one. You're the chosen one. You're the prisoner in Oblivion, right? You're the guy. You're I don't know what happened, bro, but like you're the chosen one. You're super special, and also you're gonna have way more powers than anyone else, and you're gonna fight enemies that never heal themselves. Well, there are some that do, but most of them don't. You can heal yourself. You can do all sorts of powers that they can't. Like you're so special. I like playing games like Armor where you're just a fucking grunt and there's nothing special about you. You can die. You can die as quick as the enemy can die. Right? It's basically like video game communism. Everything is spread evenly. Right? Even though communism is not like that, there's always somebody richer than you in communism. It's usually the people who are ruling you. All right, that's a whole. We're going into politics now. So I don't know why there isn't more video game developers creating games that are mixed with realism and fantasy, like the developers of Dark and Darker. I believe they're called Iron Mace. That may be the developer, that may be the publisher, that may not even be any of them, but I think they're called Iron Mace. It'll be awesome to see this. I would love to see kind of like Dark Souls, right? Like when you have to make magic and all that. When you make magic, it's a process, right? You just can't shoot thunderbolts out of your fingertips. It's like you have to do some sort of incantation, some sort of ritual, some sort of warming up, building up before you actually let go of any sort of power. I love that. I love the stamina that limits you. You know, it doesn't just make you spam. It makes you think strategically and all the while it being real time combat, right, and not turn based or anything like that. It's like real time combat that's also strategic because you have to watch where you roll to or dodge to or block, and you also have to watch your stamina. So there's a lot of moving parts, but it makes it manageable and fun, and you feel just like a fucking boss because you're managing all this and kicking a difficult AI's ass or player if you're playing Dark and Darker in this case. Although I don't think there's a stamina bar and Dark and Dark. I never really checked, to be honest with you. That's because I'm never wildly swinging. I'm very deliberate, and I guess I'm playing the game the way it's supposed to be played. I can't rave about this game enough, man. Otherwise, I mean, other like that would be my only caveat. I guess my only con about this game would be like I do wish there was a PVE mode, and I hate saying that because, like I said, I don't want to sound whiny. I don't want to sound like one of those guys who you know, get shitted on the comments because it's like, hey, go play a different game if you want a PvE game. I get it, dude. I know why you're upset. But the thing is, it's like I'm not taking anything away from you. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't feel like I don't want you to change anything about Dark and Darker if you're a PvP player. Like go out there and hunt, do your thing, do your deathmatch boys thing. All right, go out there and just kill. I was getting killed when I barely had any gear. I had like a helmet, and these fucking high level guys, fully decked out with all sorts of baubles and plate armor from the top, and they're just killing me and my druid partner there with two swipes, and she casted some sort of protection shield on her, and she got killed twice. And this was 5 minutes into us spawning in. No bullshit. 5 minutes into us spawning in, we're collecting loot, and we get killed by this one player who's like many levels above us. Above us. And I was just thinking, like, how can the developers look at that and go, "Yeah, that works. That's exactly how we want our game to be." Now that may be a rare case. I don't know. I don't play Dark and Darker enough. I've dropped. I'll tell you exactly how many. What do we got here? 5.5 hours, or 5.3 hours exactly. I've played Dark and Darker. I know that's nowhere near enough time to really get the mechanics down, but 5 hours is enough for me to tell you, like, I kind of know what the game's about now, especially because I've played so many sessions in those 5.3 hours. So that's it. That's my thing. It's like, listen, let me recap what I'm trying to say. All right, before you guys decimate me. All right, the PvP guys decimate me. The PvE guys are like, hell yeah. But I told you I'm strictly team PvE. I will always be team PvE. To me, it's just more fun getting a buddy together and both of you guys are destroying some sort of AI I love that. That's way more fun to me than me and a buddy fighting another player and another player. Because everyone knows there's nothing revolutionary that I'm about to say right now, but because you've got not only the sweats, right? Which, oh God, Dark and Darker has his sweats. There's so many sweats. There's so many people who just play this game religiously and you stand no chance. They know the exploits, they know how to move, they know, they're possibly cheating. I'm not going to accuse any of them. I'm going to say that these are all fair guys and they play by the rules. All right, you're guilty until proven innocent in my world. But before I even start throwing the cheating card around, just the sweats, just the guys that put in way more time than you. It's like you're not gonna beat these guys. Like I said, me and my friend can barely kill fucking skeletons, but we're having fun. We're both enjoying the game, and she likes it a lot, and I like it. I'm like, this is so cool. I just don't, I wish there was more games like this. That's all. Like I wish it was just more dungeon crawler, medieval types, old school classes like rogues, druids, fighters, clerics. Like that's been around forever, right? For decades. And just to take that concept and turn it in his head and be like, let's make it as realistic as we can. Not only physically realistic, but also just what would happen if a druid really cast some sort of a spell, right? Like it'll take a while, and and you're still human even though you have powers of some sort, right? Like you're still a human being. You can still bleed. You can still bleed out. These are things that humans do. I love that. Instead of just being, I swear every time I record, there's a dude with the lawnmower right outside my window. Beautiful. So, yeah. So to clarify what I'm trying to say is like, I don't think it'll hurt to just have an exclusive PvE mode considering that PvE is already baked into this game. Once again, you will never hear me go into a strictly PvP game and bitch why there isn't a PvE mode. Those guys I don't like. And I see that a lot. Oh, I wish it was a PvE mode in Call of Duty. Shut the fuck up. Don't play Call of Duty. Don't play. Go play something that's PvP. That game is specifically meant to be PvP. Counter Strike specifically meant to be PvP. Don't go ruin their parade. Don't go rain on their parade. Right? Just like those. Like I don't know if there's anybody who has complained that Helldivers there should be PvP. But look, listen to me. Even though I love the fact that Helldivers is strictly PvE, it's just you and a buddy against some sort of AI. I don't mind if they add PvP. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, because I'm not a PVE gatekeeper. So if the developers of Helldivers were to go, yeah, let's add PvP. Fuck it, why not? I would be so on board with that. Sure, I think everyone should have a choice. I probably won't play the PvP mode, but I think it's cool that other people do. So like, I don't know, maybe my mindset is a little more cooler than these PvP gatekeepers. No, bro, you want a PvE game? Get the fuck out. I want this game to strictly be PvP. I don't get that. I don't know why you're so defensive. I feel like we both can have what we want. But, I guess people get tribal about everything. I don't know while I'm sounding shocked. People get tribal about I said this the other day. I was like, people get tribal about football teams that literally are from the same state, right? Like, oh, I love the Eagles, but I hate the Steelers. I'm like, they're both from Pennsylvania, right? Now, I understand it's not that simple. There's better players on each team, right? And each team has different defenses, offenses, whatever the case may be. So, like, I know they're not the same team. One is better than the other, or maybe they're just both as good. I have no idea. I haven't been following up on NFL or anything like that. But my point is, it's like that's how I look at video games. I'm like, you're screaming about PvP, you're screaming about I'm screaming about PvE, they're screaming about PvP, and I'm like, is there any way we both can get what we want? You know what I mean? Without us affecting other worlds. Like, I don't want my PvE mode. Like, let's say the developers of Dark and Darker make a PvE mode, right? I don't want that to affect the PvP mode. And if it does, I don't want it because it's not fair. Because this game is already a PvP game for the most part. It's actually PvPvE, but come on, we all know the second you put PvP in a game, it becomes a fucking PvP game. It becomes a KOS game, right? For the most part, right? So let's be real about that. But another thing is, if the developers were to say, Dan, we'll give you your PVE mode, but we will have to rebalance everything for everyone who plays this game, including the PvP guys. I'm gonna go, I don't want it. because this game was originally a primarily a PvP game, and I don't want to fuck no one's day up. That's me. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you can call me considerate. Maybe you can call me a pussy. I don't know, but I just feel like there's always a chance. There's always a way we both can get what we want. I just, like in a relationship, like, oh, it's my way or the highway. Well, that relationship is never going to work out, right? You guys got to meet in the middle and find a way to both have what you want. And I feel with video games, especially, this goes especially for video games that already have PvE baked into them, right? There should be a PvE mode. That's it. That's all I'm saying. There should just be one, right? Or it'll be cool. Maybe should sounds kind of demanding. Maybe I should not use the word should, but it'll be cool if there was a PvE mode, right? That's all I'm saying with progression and everything, right? Like, and also I wish more companies would work on AI some more, right? Because I feel like when people think of AI, they go, "Oh, those are bots. Bots are typically dumb, right? Bots are typically associated with stupid behavior." I wish there was like AI that's pretty smart and has you thinking, and it's kind of mimics human patterns. And I'm sure there's games out there that do that, but there's not enough, right? And I guess a lot of people don't really have a lot of developers. This is what I'm spitballing. I don't know, but I'm assuming developers don't really have much of an incentive into dumping resources into creating good AI, because most of the popular games, in fact, pretty much all the popular games right now being played in the world are PvP games. So it's like, why invest time and money and resources into perfecting fake players like AI when we can just make a game that includes real players, right? I get that. Totally get that. But wouldn't it be dope to just play a game offline or whatever that, the AI is just as good as the player or does things that the player does, and you're kind of surprised. You're like, "Holy shit, that's totally what a player would have done," or that's what I would have done if I was in that AI's position. I don't know. I can't rave about this game enough, right? It's only 8 gigs too, well, as of today. I'm pretty sure this game is. First of all, it's going places. It's already in a Steam 100. Listen, if this game was number 100 on the Steam top 100 games, you got to understand there's like 40,000 games on Steam, right? If you're number 100 on the most played list, that's a fucking honor, considering you beat out what 39,900 games, right? That's probably terrible math. But you understand what I'm saying? Like, you beat out over 39,000 games. That's amazing. So this game's already, like, I forgot what it is. Matter of fact, I'll tell you exactly right now. What is this game? I know you're here somewhere. There it is. Number 34. Amazing. Number 34 on the top 100 list. Right, and then you look at the first couple ones, and one of them is like Banana, where's the clicker game. That's a joke, obviously. People go, how the fuck can a game like this be? It's free to play. First of all, it's probably like fucking 10 MB, and you click in. It's funny. It's a joke. Ah ha ha! Look, I missed my favorite game. It's a banana game. I get it. So it's awesome. This game's going places. Maybe in the future they'll include a PvE mode, or maybe they won't. Maybe they go, "Hey, fuck off, Danny. Go play something else. You little child. You always want to be babied and coddled." And I would cry, and then I would go, "Why? Why is life this way?" That's not how. That's not how it would go. Maybe, maybe not. All I know is that this is a great game, PvE or PvP. It's awesome, and I can't wait to see more levels added, more enemies added, more mechanics added, more balancing added. I'm having fun. I love the aesthetic. It's like Elder Scrolls on crack, basically. It's like if they took Elder Scrolls and they just made every element a little more realistic and more harder, which I like. I just like challenge. I like some sort of fun. I feel like I can't have any real fun if I'm not challenged. So, I mean, I am mentally challenged already, but I meant like physically challenged. You know what I mean? Good stuff. It's free to play. At least, there is a paid version, and I believe it includes some things that's like high roller mode, which means like you get to f- get instanced with other players who are high level, and you guys can fight for each other's. I would never fucking go there, man. I would like if I ever pay for this game, which I might, maybe, depending if I keep enjoying it the way I have been. I would never go into high rollers. I would never. I just don't enjoy. For me, competition, it's not really enjoyable. Don't get me wrong, it can be, right? Like right now, I'm playing against players, and by playing against players, it's mostly me just getting my ass kicked. But I'm still enjoying it, even though I'm losing. Right? Losing is not really the problem for me. It's just like I'm not. Maybe I grew up on single player games. I'm not just big on playing with other players. I just feel like I've had more fun playing with myself. Yeah, you heard it. I'm not even going to change that. I'm going to leave it just like that. Good stuff. Excited for the future of this game. Gets a good, so far, it gets a good 8 out of 10. And for real, if they keep improving, I can see this game easily being a 9 out of 10 or higher for me because it's that good. It's fucking fun. It deserves its number, what was it, 34? It deserves its number 34 spot in the Steam top 100 most played games. It's oh man, it's great. I love it. I love the little knock that you hear when you add a player and he's in your party. Ah, fucking love it, dude. There's a lot about this game that I love. And maybe in the future they'll add some modes. Maybe they won't. It's okay. You know, either way you put it, I'm always gonna keep my eye on this. I feel like this is a game I'm always gonna have downloaded, or unless I run out of space and I need to use that space for other things. But I feel like this is gonna be that one game that I'm always gonna play as the years go by, and I hope I have big expectations for this game, and it'll be a bummer if they go a shitty direction or cease development or anything of the sort. Good stuff, man. Look, don't take my word for it. It's free to play. Give it a shot. But understand if you're not a PvP guy, you have to do PvE. There's no if, ands, or buts. And you're gonna get ganked. Let's be honest. I have. You're gonna have all this cool loot, and then you're gonna have a high level players just beat the shit out of you, and really quickly too, before you even realize what's happening. I got hacked to death before I could even turn around because one of the higher level players was behind me, and so did my druid partner. She was trying to unlock the door to run away, and she was getting hacked to death while trying to unlock the door. So I died right before. I was like, "What the fuck happened?" And she was like, "You got killed by a player." And I was like, "Oh shit." Like that. That's not cool. I don't know why people would think that's fun, but I guess that's the whole experience of a hardcore game, right? That's what hardcore means. It's like, bro, you're gonna die, and you're gonna like it. You're gonna eat a shit sandwich, and you're gonna like the taste. All right. So I guess I could leave off that note. See you guys next time. Try the game out. Won't kill you. Peace.